Okay. Sal's not answering. Maybe she'll call in later. And myself here. So I believe we have a quorum. We can move forward. So Craig, would you please do the public announcements?
Yes, sir. All AMATS committee meetings are open to the public, and the public is invited to comment. We will have presentation by staff for each business item. After the presentation, the committee will be given a chance to comment, and then after that, the public will be invited to weigh in. We are running Teams live, as you know, so we will have that lag between the committee meeting over there and the committee meeting over here, so we will have a short lag while we wait to make sure there are no public comments requested.
All right, thank you, Craig. So let's move on to the approval of the agenda. Do we have an approval of the agenda?
Move to approve.
Okay, Mr. Weddleton moved. Do we have a second?
Second, Zalato.
Thanks, Zalatel seconded. All right. Do we have any changes to the agenda, Craig?
Yes, Mr. Chair. We have currently on the agenda item 5C, the Seward Highway to Glen Highway PEL resolution, that planning environmental linkage. We heard this last month at the policy committee, and the policy committee asked that it go back to the TAC for so they could weigh in. We did have it at the TAC, and they requested, along with the policy committee, to have a joint work session, which we had on Monday. The TAC actually tabled their formal review of it until that work session could occur. So we weren't sure at the time when we posted the agenda whether or not they would have a work session and they could weigh in. So we're at to hold this one over because the TAC hasn't had a chance to formally act on it, which is what the policy committee asked them to do. So we would like item 5C to be held over for the December meeting.
Okay. Are there any objections to the motion to remove item 5C from the committee?
To the chair, this is Weddleton. I think when we get to it, let's just have a motion to postpone to December instead of taking it off the agenda.
All right. I mean, 6 and 1 half does the other, but if you prefer that, Mr. Weddleton, I don't have an objection. Does anybody else have an objection? Okay. Are there any other objections to adopting the agenda as shown? Okay. Hearing none, the agenda is approved. We're going to move on to item 4, the approval of the meeting minutes. We have 2 meeting minutes in front of us. We have September 24th, 2020 and October 22nd, 2020 for approval. Are there any motions for approval of these minutes as submitted?
Move to approve the minutes as submitted.
We have a move to approve by Cindy Howell. Let the record show Cindy Howell joined at least 1:32. Cindy, I'll give you an extra minute there.
Thanks.
Shooty, seconds.
And Mr. Shooty, seconds. Okay. So we have approved the minutes. Are there any changes or discussions before we move forward? Alrighty. Any objections to approving the minutes? All right. Hearing none. The September 24th, 2020 and October 22nd, 2020 minutes are approved. All right, let's get into the action items. Item 5A, the AMATS Transportation Improvement Program, or TIP, amendment number 2. Craig, will you be giving us a rundown on this?
Yes, this is pretty straightforward, Mr. Chair. As you remember, when we had Amendment 1 before the policy committee, we had the addition of the Academy Drive, Vanguard Drive Area Traffic Circulation Improvements Project. We had originally thought this would not require the air quality conformity analysis, and of course, as I mentioned before, I was incorrect in that thinking. So we pulled that item from the agenda, or that item from the amendment, I should say. And so this is an amendment that pretty much just adds this Academy Drive, Vanguard Drive Traffic Circulation Improvements Project into the program. In addition, we had talked about previously, actually been talking about for years, an AMATS safety plan. It's been talked about in the Vision Zero plan as well. It's something that kind of dovetails in and has been pushed. The idea of a safety plan has been something the Federal Highway Administration has been very, very interested in us doing. A lot of other MPOs have that sort of thing. And so we're asking to add some funding in 2021 for an AMATS safety plan, kind of a comprehensive look at those different areas around town that might need some improvements and things that we can do to lower our traffic incidences, crashes or whatever, deal with our safety issues. So we're looking at that as something that will also help us with our safety target setting, which we do every year. As you remember, we just did that last month. So those are the two items that are inside this amendment. What we're asking you to do is to release this for a 30-day public review. The TIC heard this at their meeting 2 weeks ago and recommended the release to you. We will be concurrently doing a air quality conformity analysis, and we'll have that be done as well with the 30-day public review of that conformity analysis. As you know, we currently have our one of our steps for approval of amendments is to take it through the Anchorage Assembly, and so that takes a little bit more time. So we'll have more than 30 days to have the public look at this, and more than 30 days to have our interagency consultation meeting, because we still have to go to the Assembly after we're done with our portion of it. So bottom line is we're asking for a public release of 30 days for a public comment period on this. And that's it from me.
All right, thank you, Craig. Any questions or comments from the committee? Mr. Whittleton, it looks like you have a question.
Yeah, so Craig, on the safety plan, I mean, is that, I think of like the HSIP money, where they'll go in and do a study and then they'll go in and have funding for different projects. And so what is the, I mean, how would this go about? And then does it identify projects and prioritize them and so on?
So the HSIP, to answer your question, Mr. Whittleton, that's a pot of funding that the state controls. Those are federal funds, but those are things that the state controls that AMATS doesn't get to decide the allocation of. What we're looking for here is a comprehensive safety plan that's going to look at areas around the entire Anchorage Bowl. That might be something that it certainly would have an implementation section. It would offer projects. It would offer, any sort of intended or possible improvements, whether it's to, some of the things that are inside. I don't want to prejudge, but some of the things that are inside the set of recommendations that came out of Vision Zero, and be a little bit tied more to a funding source. The Vision Zero was a plan of the municipality of Anchorage. It wasn't an AMATS plan, although we funded it, but it was a plan that was managed and created for the municipality of Anchorage. So it doesn't necessarily hit all of the stuff that AMATS does. So we're looking at something that would be comprehensive with an implementation section of it that we could use to feed future tips for projects.
Yeah, that sounds really useful, and I'm glad to see it. And I just would hope that it's done in a way where we could use the information in that as part of the scoring system, because I think there should be a new scoring system that we hopefully will be talking about soon. And I know safety is always premier, but there's not always a real objective or maybe perhaps consistent way project to project to rate that. And it'd be nice if this offered some way to do that. Thanks.
Part of the intention, sir.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Whittleton. Ms. Heil, I think you have a question or comment.
Yeah, I have a comment. So I appreciate you, Craig, commenting on the air quality conformity because there wasn't anything on the memo. So when this goes to before the assembly and when it gets posted for public review, can you please add that there is an air quality conformity determination required for this amendment because it is a major amendment. There will be an air quality conformity. It is required. It is coming. And so it's acknowledged and it's in the paperwork. So if anybody goes back through and challenges on us, we have acknowledged it because it's not going simultaneously, which is okay since you're having a really long process with going through the assembly, but it still needs to be documented and acknowledged that one is required.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Ms. Heil, at the bottom of the memo, I think it's up on the screen now, it does say the amendment will also go through an interagency consultation meeting and to the MOA assembly for comments. That was language that we added, which was not in there originally, as you pointed out, and that was just as an oversight. I apologize, but we have it.
Can you add conformity, the word conformity? Because I don't know if people understand what interagency consultation means. So I think it needs to be really clear that an air quality conformity determination is required, it will be done, and that, you know, we'll have the subsequent interagency consultations and whatnot. But I think it's very important that we put that requirement, acknowledge that requirement, and make sure that everybody's aware that that requirement will be met.
We can do that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Howell. Are there any other questions or comments from the committee on this subject? Cindy, it kind of looks like you still have your hand up, so I'm going to assume you.
Oh, I'm trying to take it off.
Okay. Craig, I'm not seeing.
There we go.
I'm not seeing any other questions or comments from the committee. Are you at this time?
I do not see any either, Mr. Chair.
Okay. All right. Well, we will move on to comments from the public. Please remind the public they have 3 minutes to speak on this action item. So Aaron, if you would go ahead and start the 30-second clock and let us know when that's completed.
Okay, this is Aaron O'Galen. The 30 seconds is up. And just as a kind of reminder to everyone, I will be transitioning away from the public involvement side of things. So that includes kind of watching over the teams live and everything. So Christine Schutte will be taking over, but we're having a few issues with computer problems on her end. So I'm kind of helping supplement it today. And she has just informed me that there are no questions on Teams Live. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. Okay, so regarding action item 5A, what is the will of the committee?
Schutte, move to approve, please.
All right.
Second, Cindy Heil.
Cindy Howell seconded. Are there any objections to the approving the motion? Okay, hearing none, the motion is approved. So Craig, if we could move on to action item 5B, can you give us a presentation on that real quick?
Yes, very quickly. So we have adopted the TIP and the TIP tables, the 2019 to 22 TIP. Obviously, we are continuing forward with utilizing the federal funds inside the AMATS boundaries for various transportation improvements, both motorized, non-motorized, transit, etc. One thing that needs to be included with that is a TIP narrative, which talks about the criteria that go into that, the air quality conformity, consistency with other plans, the things that you can see on the page there. And it's something that it should be adopted at the same time as the TIP tables, but we just, a number of reasons why we didn't quite get that done in time. So this is the TIP narrative that the feds have requested. Aaron and I worked on this, which means Aaron worked on it and I provided a few edits here and there, but he did the yeoman's work on this for creating this creature. It's something that helps explain those tables in a more understandable way. And so we are asking you now to approve that so we can include it as a package with the tables. If you remember during the certification, for our planning procedures that we do, the feds talked about the tables that are included, and there are some tables that we had the process that we had used in the past was, if we're adding or deleting a project that's not inside of the AMATS allocation, we can just do that as an administrative modification and get it done quickly. And we were told that even though we had been doing this for years and we have all our TIPs approved at our last certification, they said anytime you add or delete a project, no matter where it is in the tip tables, it's a major amendment, which certainly changes things, because that would mean if we're adding a project in that the railroad wanted using their Federal Railroad Administration funds, it needs to be a major amendment, which just makes it a little more challenging for them as they try to move quickly. Same thing with the transit funds that our public transportation department uses. So in that certification, they agreed that if we included in the narrative as an appendix to those other tables, then we could move those monies around because it's not part of our tables and our allocation. There are a number of reasons why this really will help our process. So this is the tip narrative. It just helps explain the tip tables. This came before the TAC 2 weeks ago, and they recommended approval for it. So happy to answer questions if you have any.
All right, thank you, Craig. Are there any questions or comments from the committee on the tip narrative? Okay. Hearing none, are there any comments from the public? Again, 3 minutes to speak on this. Second, Aaron, since you're such a good yeoman, according to Craig, if you would please, 30 seconds.
Okay, the 30 seconds are up, and it looks like there are no questions on this item. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Aaron. So regarding the AMATS tip narrative, what is the will of the committee?
Weddleton, move to approve.
Okay, thank you, John. Is there a second?
Second, Zalato.
Thank you, Meg. All right, I have a motion moved and seconded. Are there any objections to approving the motion? Okay, hearing none, the motion is approved. Okay, on to item 5C. Craig, if you would please give us a little bit of a brief, the backstory on TAC approval of this action item before it gets forwarded to policy committee.
Backstory on what the resolution is, the process that we've gone to get where we are.
Just where we're at in the process.
Okay, so this was a resolution, as you know, that was offered up by Mr. Weddleton. It relates to the Seward to Glen Highway PEL, the Planning Environmental Linkages Study. That is a study that is underway. It is funded through the TIP and managed by DOT. And so during the process, Mr. Weddleton asked if we could have this resolution on the agenda. So here it is. When it came to the policy committee, some members of the policy committee asked if the TAC had weighed in on it, and they had not. And so we sent it to the TAC for their opportunity to weigh in. They asked to have a work session on it jointly with the policy committee so that they could understand a little bit better the resolution, the PEL process, and all sorts of other things. The TAC then tabled the resolution so that they could have this the work session first. And just it got caught up in our deadlines for when we post stuff for the agendas, and thought we would have the work session done in time, but we did not. So the TAC has not had an opportunity to formally weigh in on, although many members of the TAC were on the work session call. So the plan is to have it before the TAC at the December meeting so they can weigh in on it, having the benefit now of the work session, and then it will come to you next month if that is what is the policy committee's preference.
Okay, thank you, Craig. Mr. Weddleton, do you have a quick question? You're on mute, I think, John.
There you go. I'm off mute. Yeah, I appreciate that. What I'd like to do is I'd make a motion to postpone till our meeting in December and get the tax feedback. And the work session was very helpful. So I learned a lot, and would intend to have a much modified resolution here, because I think it's clear the main goal is to get as close to certainty as we can on a preferred route, and that seems like a PEL can do that. So that's something that, so I think when this goes to the TAC is maybe carry that thought with it as well. Thanks.
Okay, so Mr. Weddleton, you're proposing that we go ahead and table this until December, until the TAC has had a chance to approve it and move it forward to us. Is that your motion?
Yes.
Well, I believe we have to
I
listen
say
to
the TAC chance to review it.
Okay, gotcha. Go ahead, Craig.
I was going to say, we still, we have to make sure we hear the public comment on this before we make a motion on this.
Okay.
Thanks.
Are there any other questions or comments from the committee on this issue before we move to public comment?
This is Aaron. Just a quick clarification. If you're postponing the item, you don't need to actually go to public comment.
Oh.
Well, fine, be that way.
Well, I will let you and Craig thumb wrestle about that. Unless I hear different, we'll just go ahead and move on from item 5C.
Well, Zalato seconds the motion
Okay.
for postponement. I think we have to vote on it, right?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Okay, so moved by Mr. Weddleton, seconded by Ms. Zalatel. Any objections to approving the motion to table this item until the TAC has had an opportunity to review it? Okay, hearing none, the motion to defer till December is approved. Okay, Craig, we're on to item number 6. I'm not seeing anything on the agenda. Are there any plan or project updates that we need to worry about?
None that I know of, Mr. Chair.
Okay. There are no project and plan updates. Moved on to item number 7, general information. Is there any general information to put out?
I can't think of any. I think stay warm is all.
Okay. All right, no general information on the agenda, so we'll move on to item 8, committee comments. Does the committee have any comments to add today?
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
There is good news in 2020. It is Thanksgiving. All right. Okay.
I made
Any
it
other
to
comments?
this far.
Right. Any other comments or questions from the committee? Okay, hearing none. Are there any comments from the public? If there are, would you please state your name for the record? And one more last time for a 30-second clock, please.
No comments or questions from the public. Thank you.
All right. Well, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Shooty,
Move to adjourn.
Okay. I don't know.
You can put Heil as a second.
Yeah, Mr. Welton moved, seconded by Heil. Any objections to approving the motion to adjourn? Hearing none, the meeting is adjourned at 1:54. Everybody have a safe holiday. Stay safe out there, and we'll talk to you all next month.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you.
Great.
Do.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye. Yep.
Come on, this is Cindy.